All right, and we are live.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome back. It has been a long time.
Like a month.
Like a month. Been quite a month it has been. So we are excited to dig into that. A little later in the show, we are going to be talking with Frank Gruber and Jen Consalvo, co-founders and co-CEOs of Established, a consultancy focused on helping organizations with their innovation, startup, and comm strategy. And that's
Awesome.
going to be today on Lifestyle Business with
Chris
and Ann. We are a little out of practice.
Well, we got a new production setup.
Did everyone check
everybody
out the
sees
scene?
The graphic on the screen. New setup here.
A
So
little
that's fun.
freak out though, because we're now like in different positions on the screen, but apparently not in post. So
And has anything interesting been going on this month?
nothing. We've had nothing going on.
I feel like our audience deserves to know, but
We have had a lot going on.
Alrighty.
Okay.
So,
We went on the last time we saw you, we had Aaron Thomas of Accelerator for America, a very good friend. We also had Michael Tubbs. Now he had a big month too. He went live with his HBO special, which is pretty exciting for him.
Yeah.
Right.
People want to know about what's going on at Launchpad.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So we took off, we went on vacation or a staycation. And we came back to an 8:30 Monday call, mid-July. And we had left, I know we had talked about kind of rent is due throughout basically the spring and talking about kind of how you, our members, obviously are struggling as a small business. We as a small business have been struggling during COVID. Some of the choices that we made were to allow for folks to get relief, to maybe not be so focused on reinforcing that contract we have, but rather thinking a little bit about kind of what do we want to do when we come out of this phase. And I think our goal was to come out of COVID creating more fans than foes. And so the idea was we gave kind of about $100,000 in relief over the course of the summer, of the spring. So it was a little bit challenging for us to make ends meet, obviously. And as a result, we asked our landlords to work with us. We're kind of in business with our landlords.
Yeah.
I mean, no one really wants to be a landlord right now. So most of them were like, yes, we'll help you. Rent is still due, but we're okay if it's a little late. And that was a great plan. And it worked with a couple of them. Unfortunately, we got back from our vacation. Do you want to help me out here? I'm rambling. It's an awkward conversation.
Well, we got back from our vacation and we were informed that we were going to be shutting down.
Yeah.
In Memphis and New Orleans.
So
on an 8:30 Monday morning call. Always fun. Anyway, we're mincing words here because we're under a non-disparagement agreement. So we'll leave it at that.
we are just, honestly, this is so awkward. Jen and Frank, I'm sure you're enjoying watching this unfold before your very eyes.
Look, it's not. We don't have to give the narrative here. The bottom line is we have shut down the Memphis and the New Orleans Launchpad locations, which is very sad for us. The New Orleans location is where we started and operated for over 10 years. This is literally our headquarters, and we're out. So it sucks. And we're a victim of what many other small businesses and startups are going through right now. We've been talking about that on a weekly basis. So people have been, experiencing this with us in real time. We're obviously conscious that we're not the only ones struggling, as you said. Part of the reason we are struggling is because our members are struggling. A lot of people are struggling during this time, and it's a whole food chain, right? Our landlords are feeling it, and ultimately Goldman Sachs and everybody else is going to be feeling it. But the bottom line for us is it is heartbreaking for us to close our doors in those markets. If anybody has any questions, you can throw them into the chat. We'll do our best to answer them without any hint of disparagement. But anyway, will we be back? Who knows? We certainly can be. We can open back up tomorrow if we want to. Maybe it's prudent to wait till COVID's over.
I think so.
But I think, on one bright note that I want to highlight is one of the interesting things that we had to balance was while we were going through this, the day after we were informed that we were going to be shutting down in Memphis and New Orleans, we did a press conference to announce our new Mesa location. And we had senators and mayors and our partners Caliber, who are awesome in Mesa. And this project is amazing and super promising. So I think that one of the things here is that we've had to make difficult decisions. Let me reframe that. We've had difficult decisions made for us that obviously are tough right now, but part of that is for the long-term health of the organization and the mission and being able to continue to deliver on that mission and support our members and grow Launchpad from here. So
yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it just aligns us even more with the rest of you, which is we're all going through similar challenges. We're going through tough times, and in business, you have heartbreaks and you have victories and successes. And we're going to chat a little bit about that with Jen and Frank, who are working on their own business and doing amazing things and have great stories to share with us. And also what's wonderful is, thank you, Dan, we have had this outpouring of love and support from our communities and our members at all of the different locations. And it makes us more excited than ever to come back. And it gives us a chance to think about how we actually want to come back, and what is that next incarnation in New Orleans. So stay tuned. We have lots of creative ideas, and we'll have even more creative ideas now that we've had a significant weight lifted from our shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know how you're feeling. We were sort of having a healthy dialogue prior to the show. Our, I don't know, tempers have been a little bit short. It has been stressful. We're kind of exhausted because it's been a very down month, or July was a down month. I guess it all happened very fast.
Thank goodness.
I mean, heck, we had one of our former members flame us on email this morning. I'm like, imagine if you're closing down a chicken restaurant, for example.
Just as an example,
and you had to go out of business, and people were replying to your newsletter email with,
how dare you send me this newsletter about your show today?
I'm sorry,
you didn't even communicate that you were.
Oh
my goodness! So we're very, very sorry.
So anyway,
especially to that member.
Yeah.
About the email. Anyway, you're right, Paul. When this first started, we were thinking 6 weeks. Now we're thinking 1 or 2 years, and so it is what it is.
It is. Yeah, it looks like we're going into the fall. We'll see where we go from here. Actually, we'll bring in Frank and Jen.
I think so.
And get their thoughts.
They're doing some cool stuff. A lot of their work is in the events business.
Yeah.
And actually, one thing I will say is what a treat. So much of the photography that we have. So, now as we've closed those locations, I look back and I think, thank goodness I have all these amazing events and memories and photography that will stand the test of time. And one of the exciting events that we did was Startup of the Year last October. Was that October? Wow. And I think that was the last sort of big event we attended, and it was a great success. And they did a ton of stuff at our Memphis location. So glad we got that out of the way, and you didn't save it for this year. And let's bring Frank and Jen on.
All right.
We're just rambling. We usually have a better start show, guys, but awkward conversations make for awkward intros. So Frank wears many hats: entrepreneur, author, journalist, podcaster, investor. And Jen Consalvo is a founder and leader of multiple successful businesses, entrepreneur, early stage startup investor, and advisor. Together, they are the co-founders and co-CEOs of Established, with many founder feathers in their collective caps. They're here today to talk about the ways that they're leveraging decades of experience in the tech and startup world to help clients further build their brands and realize their most important goals in a time of COVID-19. Hey guys! Hey Frank!
Hey, we lost one along the way. Sorry about that. We
Jen, we went too long.
No. Jen had something pop up that literally she had to do. As you see, things happen sometimes, and she was here. You saw her, and then she wasn't. So she's handling a situation. So sorry that she couldn't be here.
No worries. Sorry about your situation. How are you?
No, it's all good. It's a good situation. Things happen though when you're, things just arise when you're running a business. And so she had to pop in and take a different call, unfortunately. So apologize for her not being here, but I'm here and I'm happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Obviously, we've had an eventful month.
Sounds like it. Wow.
Yeah, we're still here. So Frank, why don't you tell us a little bit about start of the year? You guys have an upcoming deadline on the 10th. So tell us a little bit about where you're at, what start of the year is, and how people can get involved.
Sure. So the company that I'll just kind of dial it back. So for the last decade or so, I've been working in the tech space. We had a company called Tech.co, which is a media company. We sold it in 2018, the media portion of it, and they continue to run it. Go check it out at Tech.co. It's still out there and they're growing it. But Jen and I took kind of a step back and said, what do we want to do? And we decided we still love the startup component of what we were doing. And so we decided to keep going. And so we started a company called Established, and it's a consultancy, and we work with a lot of different groups to help with their innovation programs and strategies. We do startup sourcing for clients like AFWorks, which is the U.S. Air Force, NASA, iTech, and others. And we continue to kind of help them with their strategy of how they can find and connect with startups that can help them with their next missions, which is pretty cool. And then our own program is called Startup of the Year, which you guys have been a part of now for a while. And we got a chance to do it in person, which who would have thought that was our last time of doing it in person? Like, hopefully not, but in Memphis, it's crazy, right? To think about it, it gives me chills a little bit. That might have been our last big event in person, but we've quickly adapted to do things online, like as you guys have as well. And we've been producing online pitch competitions for Startup of the Year, as well as others. Last week, we hosted and produced the Greater Colorado Venture Fund event, which was basically going to be a roadshow similar to Rise of the Rest, where they toured around rural Colorado and did 7 different pitch competitions and then rolled it up to one. And we took it and created a really amazing show for them in about an hour and a half with 7 companies instead. And that was last Thursday, and they gave away almost $600,000 in investment. So we produced all that behind the scenes.
I saw that. That's so cool. Yeah. We've got some mutual friends, I'm sure, in the rural Colorado investment region. And rural is so hot right now.
Sure is. Yeah, it definitely is. And obviously being able to do things online helps connect them. And the audience, for doing it online was way bigger than it would have been in person, right? So it actually created an opportunity for the companies that all pitched, and they all did an amazing job pitching and showcasing what they're doing. And so that's just kind of what we do. And then, we have our Startup Habit, which is Startup of the Year, which is this year-long program that we, have a bunch of different events. We create a lot of online events now that we're standing up. Our next one is actually coming up soon in September, but we've got a deadline coming up for Black founders. So if there's any Black founders out there that want to apply now. Go to startupofyear.com and apply for that upcoming event. And then our bigger call out is actually September 15th for the bigger Startup of the Year. But if you go into the Black founder event and win it, you get fast tracks to the finals, which is 100 companies competing for investment and exposure and opportunity. So there'll be 100 companies competing. We're doing a virtual summit in November. So unfortunately, you can't obviously do a real life in-person event. And I don't think anybody is right now. So we're bringing it online November 9th and 10th, and we'll be hosting that similar to this. So we'll be here. It might even look similar. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, you got to check out all the services. So that's
Right.
awesome to hear.
Yeah.
So so the Black Founders, the deadline was that August 10th. Did I see?
So we extended it. It was the 6th, and we've got a couple more days. So if there's companies that are interested, definitely have them apply, even if it says past the deadline, because we may not have tweaked all the language everywhere where we. So yeah.
That's awesome. Real quick question on that. So we do certainly have lots of founders in our network. What's an ideal profile for startup of the year?
Yeah, so it's early stage companies, less than a few, 3 or 4 years old. We've got our stuff on our site, but and they've changed it, so this is a good test for me. But it's under $5 million in investment. So you're thinking about early stage, probably maybe took a little bit of money or maybe haven't taken any money. We get a lot of both, and we're trying to give them additional exposure to investors. So investors and potentially even clients. If they get a big contract with, whether let's say the Air Force or NASA or a big corporate, that could be as good as getting an investment, check or whatever. So last year we had similar stuff in Memphis, with like FedEx was involved and others that were right there trying to build those bridges with the startup community. So we kind of see established as a company that helps provide startup opportunities. That's what we do, and we do it on both sides, like kind of a two-headed way of doing it, with working with the companies that are trying to find the startups, and the startups that are trying to find the opportunities.
We're getting a lot of excited people asking for the link here in the comments. So
Sure.
do you have a quick, Ariel will post it.
Yeah, definitely. Let me just see if I can find it really quick. This is the best part about the internet.
Ariel, if you can post that, and then we'll show the link. But that's great. We're getting some interest. So yeah, that's
I think the best way to do it is just go to startupofyear.com, and it's right on the homepage. There's a bunch of information about the program and the extension for that application.
There you go. We're good.
All right.
Great.
Yep. There you go.
Well, let us know. And any members, if you apply.
Oh,
Group and Terrence, thank you guys for your comments and your engagement on this. That's exciting.
We'd love to come to NOLA in Memphis and just give away $600,000. Do you have some of that lying around there?
We don't, but that was through Greater Colorado. But we are giving away. We are not giving away. We're actually investing in some of the companies. We started a couple different SPVs, special vehicles for Startup of the Year. And so we're on our second one, and we closed that out a few months ago during at the beginning of the pandemic, and thankfully, close it out. And then we've been just doing 10K investments at the moment. We've got a couple that have been a little bit bigger. And I apologize, there's a fly. Can you see it in the screen? There's a fly flying around. He was trying to be on camera. Live TV, best thing ever. So we're basically we've got enough to kind of, get through 2021, and then our goal is to kind of raise more and do more. So that's kind of been our kind of progression, I guess you could say, over the last few years. But we have invested in a number of founders already, some great Black founders. Share was a winner of our Startup of the Year a few years ago. And they were a marketplace or an app for taking your excess salon space and allowing folks to use it. And they've grown and done a really good job. And obviously we're hit pretty hard with COVID stuff, right? A lot of the salons were closed, but they ended up jumping in and actually helping a lot of the salons get their checks from the government, from all the loans and aid. So they kind of jumped in and kind of helped others and helped kind of their community, if you will, keep that going. So I think they're going to bounce back once things, they're open up a little bit. I don't know. I haven't got a haircut in a while, but I know people are.
Yeah. Are you doing your own, or are you just?
I'm doing my own. Yeah, I'm doing my own. I did it a couple weeks ago. Probably need a cleanup right now. But the scariest part is the scissors. I can do all this, but then the scissors part it's a little tedious. It takes a little while.
Yeah. And that's a good point, just to mention.
Good point about the scissors.
No,
don't run with them. That's dangerous. Right?
Yeah. The PPP loans, for companies that haven't applied for that, there's still funds available. So anybody that has not applied,
right?
And several months ago, as we were doing these shows, it was all about how difficult it was to get in the queue and everything. And, here it is. If you've waited all this time, the queue
Easy
has
peasy.
eased up. So
It's kind of like going to a hot club. When
Yeah.
it first opens, it's hard to get in, but then once it stops being hot.
Yeah.
They offered more, and I think that's one of the things that we noticed is that people were getting denied on the first try because it came in kind of chunks or whatever, and so they get denied on the first try, but they get it in the second try, and I think that's where we've been advising people to also reapply, and get through that process again, and maybe we even found that certain banks are able to execute faster than other banks, and so even some of the larger banks were telling us, have people do the smaller banks and get those done. And they'll be able to get it to you quicker, and it actually ended up being the case. So lots of little hacks here and there to help companies get through it.
So, Frank, a conversation you and I had months ago, and we were chatting about, I don't know when it was actually, now that I think back, but we were having a conversation around investment into what we call momentum markets, what other people call the rest, what you guys call America. We were talking about kind of the natural inclinations there, and it is true. You mentioned to me that you often take flyers before most others in the companies, and something that we've been chatting about here has been this idea of more inclusive investment and how the bar is it's almost like so high if you're in kind of a rural or non-major market that it actually is really under-founder friendly. So can you tell us a little bit about your philosophy around how you invest in companies?
Yeah, I mean, we've for a long time, dating back even to when I started Tech Cocktail, like that was our first company and it turned into TechCo. It started as a very simple grassroots thing that was really about amplifying what was happening in those local communities. And started in Chicago and then went to DC and Boston, and we were first to kind of do it in Boulder with Techstars, and they were just launching. So we kind of had this right formula at the right time, and kind of did lots of events to bring communities together. And obviously now, that would never work, right? So unless you were doing it online, but so timing's everything. That's the story there. But the idea is that we were always about those underdog markets. Obviously still working in San Francisco. We both Jen and myself both worked at AOL, and we had teams in San Francisco, and we actually spent a lot of time in Mountain View and in DC and New York. And so those markets are obviously important. There's a lot there. These other markets, there's still stuff there, but they don't have the connective tissue necessarily to kind of bridge the gap and find those investors. And so we've always been really inclusive and trying to help shine a light on these companies and get them a chance, whether through the events we host, through the opportunities we provide, and the connections we make. And so and then from an investment perspective, yes, ShareShare is based in McKinney, Texas, not a place that you're like constantly looking for stars, but that's where they're based. So it can happen anywhere, right? So we try to be really open, and part of the start of the year has always been trying to find companies everywhere. That's kind of an underlying theme. This year we're pushing ourselves to try to get one from every state. That hasn't happened before. It's hard in certain states, especially the rural states, to find companies that meet the criteria or that want to participate. We might get them to apply, but they may not actually be able to may not make it to the semifinals or whatever, just because of what they're doing. But yeah, so definitely it's definitely our own team challenge. We always try to find interesting companies everywhere, and then from an inclusion perspective, we also have been really focused on female-led companies for a long time, and women-led, obviously women-led companies, but also, both Black and Latino companies as well. We're really trying to find and kind of level that playing field, that, it shouldn't be unlevel to begin with. So that's just the way of the world, unfortunately. And so we're trying to help.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that we share in common, is that fight against leveling the playing field for anyone.
I'm curious, Frank, you guys obviously have been doing a lot of events over the years, from Tech Cocktail and TechCo into Established and Startup of the Year. What do you think are going to be the lasting changes that come out of this COVID time? I think we're all eager to get back and be with each other in person, but there has been a lot of adoption of technology and streaming and virtual, and they can augment each other. So what do you think will be sort of the lasting ramifications of of this, in things like, startup competitions, pitch competitions, things that you're looking for distribution on, you want to build an audience around. What will be that hybrid sort of in-person and virtual balance?
That's a great question. And I think what we're going to see is the flip of what was happening before. So we saw a lot of in-person and maybe not so much online. And now I think people are going to build things for online first and then maybe offer a small audience, right? So that way, because you can actually reach a bigger audience. It's just the internet is the internet. Like, it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
It's the World Wide Web.
Yeah,
right. So you have more potential to reach more people and on their schedules, right? So I think that's the difference. Whereas, and we're finding that with the things we're doing. I mean, we were going to do a big South by Southwest event. It would have been our 10th year in a row, I believe. And obviously pulled the plug on that right before they canceled South by Southwest. We took that and turned it into an online competition where, the company that won was called Genie out of DC. And we ended up investing in them as well in the latest round. And so the idea there, though, is we actually had more audience at the online component that we did versus what we would have had at South by. And South by is huge, right? You're going to have a lot of people through, but you're just able to reach more people in a better way and faster. So I think that's going to be one of them. I don't know. I don't know when there's going to be. I don't know what the right timing is for having that in-person event yet. It's I don't think anyone knows. So I think that's kind of TBD. But I definitely feel like everything's going to be built for what we're doing now because we've seen the capabilities, and I kind of like being able to jump in and out of stuff. I mean, I don't know. Inherently, I think everyone's a little bit like
without jumping on a flight, right?
Yeah.
You're sort of in different. And where are you? Are you guys in Maine right now? I know you're multiple places, but you've been in Maine most of this. Okay, so we're in Sonoma. About an hour and a half north of San Francisco. One of the things we're actually thinking about doing is building a studio up here. We're in a co-working space right now, but actually a studio where we can get people to drive up from the Bay Area, come up, do an interview with us, do something like that where we can really get quality content, interesting people, and reach a wider audience by, then it was always, it's always a challenge to get somebody to fly from the Bay Area to New Orleans or Memphis or whatever to do a keynote. So we're
even just
sort of
getting
thinking about
people
the same
to engage online with the community, right? Like
right.
asking you to fly to one of our locations to do a town hall is a big ask, right? But asking someone to pop on for an hour is actually pretty easy.
I don't think you're going to see that again. Are we going to be able to get people to fly to do stuff anymore? I think we've all, like I said, we kind of have this inherent kind of like laziness and time management thing. So I don't think it's going to be really hard. I think there's only going to be a few big things that happen that people are going to jump on a plane for if things get cleared up.
I also think rethinking what the in-person experience looks like, right? Which is, do you have a desire to go to South by Southwest anytime soon, or a 50,000 person event where you're like,
no. I mean, you saw it with CES, right? That's a big event they do in Las Vegas, and that's 100 and something thousand people, maybe 150,000, and they just pulled the plug and went virtual for the first time. I think that's going to be the trend. I mean, if they're willing to do that, and Las Vegas is a big area, but I just don't think we're quite ready for it yet. And the idea that CES had initially they announced, this is I guess what I'm getting at. They initially announced we're going to do it this year, and I was like, I started to like beat up because I'm like, do I have to like go to this? Like, because we do a lot. We've worked a lot with CTA who produces it, and a lot of the companies that are there and whatnot. So it did make me have some like a quick sweat there for a second. Like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to jump on a plane and do this, or maybe potentially. And so I think that it was the right move for them to pull it. And I think that you'll probably see similar stuff with South by and some of these bigger events. We just watched, you started just getting more comfortable watching things. The tough thing is engagement, even with the online component, because if you're doing like a multi-day thing, you're trying to figure out how do I get engagement throughout the whole thing. I mean, you're basically doing a telethon at that point, right? Like you're doing like potentially a telethon unless you break it into segments. And so like, so I think that's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out, what people have attention for, because we're constantly like, right now, just looking at you, I have this screen, I have this screen, I have like 4 screens in front of me right now. I'm trying to pay attention to you guys. So so I think that's people are like that. They're going to have their meetings. They're going to jump in and out of things versus when you get them in an environment like our summit or like these South by or whatever, people are more willing to just be in the environment and forget what else has to be done, basically.
I think that
That's fair.
The intimacy of the sort of the one-on-one, or you see a great pitch at a startup of the year event, and an investor wants to go and walk up to stage and grab this person and give them a business card or that kind of thing. And then we all know that when you leave a conference or you leave an event, you sort of, time passes, you forget about it. So how do you capture that? Oh, I'm interested right now. Let me make that match. Let me, what's the equivalent of pressing a business card into somebody's hand in a virtual environment like this? I think that's something that, from a technology standpoint, needs to be worked on, and that creating an action out of doing something like we're doing now.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing there, that's a great point. I thought that too. And actually I did attend and participated in like the ACA, which is Angel Conference Association, or Angel, I don't know what ACA, but it's an Angel Conference. It's an Angel Investor Conference called ACA. Anyway, they, and I've been on a couple others where you actually are quicker to connect in some ways. Like if you get some of those mingle rooms and things you can jump in, so they're literally like you're jumping in with some random people and talking to them. Or even if you've been attended at like a happy hour, have you done a virtual happy hour recently? You're able to like, or maybe it's just me and I'm super creepy. I'm able to look up everyone what they're doing on like LinkedIn and be like, oh, that's who they are. And then you get a little bit better and faster connection. And then after you're done, you can actually go and connect with them way faster than if you had a business card. Because sometimes those business cards, they get in my wallet and they just stack up in here. And soon enough, I've got the George Costanza and I'm like wallet, and I'm just sitting here with this wallet. Right. And sticking out. And so I think, and then you got to make an action upon that. So I guess in some ways it can be easier and faster because it's the internet and it's digital versus having to like think about when you're going to do that or whatever. So. Yeah.
Interesting.
I know.
We will see, but I do think that there's going to be a lot less flying. People are going to be more resistant to travel unless it's something, you'll pick and choose, but you won't just be like, yeah, I'll go to every Opportunity Zone event across the whole country.
Oh, Opportunity Zone events are canceled.
Are they?
Unless it's at the White House.
We will come to Startup of the Year, though.
Yeah, it'll be online. And it'll be November 9th and 10th. Perfect. It might be in the same background and everything you're in right now.
That's exactly. I can't wait.
Right.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's great.
That's awesome.
But I do think that is a fair point, which is like the whole idea of recreating those intimate connections where people are coming together is really important. But like the large scale event, there are so many people who are creative who this is a pro that you'll figure out. You're going to be the driver of what the future looks like in this stuff. Yeah,
you missed the random collisions, right? Like so I lived downtown Las Vegas before I was in Maine, and with Downtown Project, which was driven by Tony Hsieh and some other folks from Zappos. And, part of that whole mission was to create a collisionable community. And not like you're driving a car and you're going to crash into people, but the ability for you to like bump into people and create that kind of randomness that occurs in more dense cities. And so I think that's what you're going to actually miss. And so how do you create that spark and create the ability for you to randomly bump into, your next potential partner or investor or whatever, because most, if you're in this environment and you're like in screen land, like it's very easy to hide, right? It's very easy to not put on the camera and not go to these mingle things and just to listen to the summit or whatever and not participate. And so I think it's going to be important to pull those people that are, maybe a little bit more introverted out to be a part of these, like some of those, and create those random moments, because I think that's what will be missed. And I think that's what makes me a little sad, because those are some of the best, moments that can happen.
Yeah, it's interesting, and just a reflection. One of my favorite events at South by Southwest for many, many years were the tech cocktail events. Because it was sort of off.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It was sort of off campus, so you got you were in the seminars or the panels or whatever, but it was you go and grab
He's
a
the only
beer,
one who went on campus, apparently.
grab a beer and hang out. And one of my favorite things to do is always at an event like that, find the one person who's standing in the corner and walk up to them and like engage in a conversation, like actually go and you usually have a really interesting conversation, and it's exactly what you just described. It's somebody who's very interesting but might be a little introverted and uncomfortable. And how do we activate that kind of thing in more of a virtual world?
I'm just going to straight up say it for both of you, which is, I'm sorry, events, even for the extrovert, I think are more stressful. As an extrovert, I can't imagine anything worse than having to go to a networking event where I don't have a platform or someone to talk to.
And then having me walk up to you.
And then that would be great.
Would you talk to him?
That might be why we're married.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting.
I was so nervous that I was like, someone talk to me.
I think the bigger stressor for us, and you guys are parents as well, is like the whole, what are we doing like childcare wise? That's been the biggest juggle. That's why I was trying to, you guys invited us to be on this together. Well, obviously that didn't happen. Could have, it almost did. Work got in the way, but usually it's childcare, right? Because now we're juggling, what do we do with our little ones when we're not doing this? When we're doing this, what do we do with them? And gosh, there's just not a great setup right now with the current situation.
Yeah, and there's only so many hours you're comfortable putting them in front of Pete the cat.
Exactly. Pete the cat's great. He's pretty chill, but you're right. Like the screen time you're basically fighting against screen time all the time, and there's definitely an impact there, and then just an impact of what's going on in the world. We definitely see it with ours, our little one, and definitely feeling the pressure of what's going on in the world. We're trying to keep it pretty chill, but like you can definitely a lot of anger there. So I'm hoping that everyone can get through it and in the best way possible.
Yeah, and you guys are kind of also on the leading of the charge in terms of you get to choose where you live, right? We all get to choose where we live. I think more and more people are going to choose where they're living. How are you navigating that in terms of like managing the team and engaging there? I think let's put it this way. The future of work is remote and it's here. So what are you doing?
Well, so we've been remote for a long time. Ever since TechCo, back with TechCo, we had a team that was in one place for a little while, but then we started to realize that it's just too hard to wrangle everyone and keep everyone in there. You build the best, mousetrap to keep everyone in one place, and then somebody's like, well, I want to maybe go over here or whatever, and you want to keep that person. So it's like there's never a good enough mousetrap, right? So not that you're trying to trap your employees, but you get the analogy. Yeah. So anyway, we basically realized that a while back and decided let's make it remote, and people then we can have the kind of the freedom to find the most, the best people for each thing, and that people have the freedom, and we offer that as like an opportunity for our team to kind of live and work wherever. I think it goes back to Jen and I always had this dream of, being digital nomads and going, being able to live, do whatever from wherever. Now, there are connectivity issues that can arise from doing that. So we had to kind of lay some groundwork around, okay, we're going to be on for most of this time. But, we all use communication tools to kind of manage it. But that is the biggest one, is making sure everyone is on good connectivity when they need to be, right? And the rest of the time, you can just kind of do what you need to do to get by. But we've been ahead of it for a while as far as like allowing people to live from everywhere. Partly because selfishly, we didn't want to be tied down to one spot. In the perfect world, right? Like, and like I said, we were in Las Vegas last before we were here, and we used to jump back and forth, right? And obviously with what's going on, we're not doing that anymore. But unless we want to do a long road trip, and that's not comfortable. But that would be a really, really long road trip with a little one. So anyway, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, we allow, that way we can kind of pick and choose where our people are, and the challenge then is just more of a scheduling time zone thing than it is anything else.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, that's basically what we always say is we've had to build the muscle of building a culture remote.
That is the toughest part.
Our business is remote, so we might as well get good at it. And now we're lucky because we at least seem to be okay.
Yeah, it's every good company, even with all that set up, still there's going to be flare-ups. Things are going to happen. Like, so I think having that backbone is super important. And I think the main key is just over communication. I mean, I think at the end of the day. Yeah. And so we started doing something where especially with COVID, we're like asking people, we've done it a lot more early on than late, but it's still every so often we see one happen. But we're asking our employees, hey, if you're having a good day, green means good, Yellow, you could do better. If it's a red day, tell everyone and just take some time because you need to take a deep breath and like whatever's happening, because it's not just about what's happening in the world. There's, you know, a lot of other things going on, and it all kind of mounts until the point where we don't want anybody overcooking here. So trying to make sure that we give everyone space.
That's good advice. I'm having a yellow day.
Perfect.
And that's making Chris's day a red day.
I think I'm pretty green today.
Right on. Right on. And I agree with you, which is the idea of, I mean, connectivity. We are woefully disadvantaged in our neck of the woods where we live because we have satellite, and it's
right now because it looks pretty good.
No, so we have to work in a co-working space.
Okay.
Which means we have to have full-time childcare, which is fantastic. But at the same time, I think that idea of like carving out, here's the windows that everybody needs to be on, and then everyone else is more flexible, has been useful for sure.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I think the biggest one is communication. We don't have our childcare setup is actually Jen's parents who help us on 2 days a week. Today is one of those days. And then the rest is I had to come up with a schedule for how we actually get stuff done. And it's pretty much we swap every other day. So
you're just handing off.
Right. No, so Monday is usually my work day, Wednesday is Jen's work day, and then we work Tuesday, Thursdays, and then Fridays we just juggle. So that's the screen time day, and then we catch up on the weekend. So we're just getting in about 40 hours right now, you know, but that's hard. But I think if we, you know, the question of are we going to send our little one to school and all that is coming up now, and we're like beating up with sweat, even though Maine is probably one of the best, like statistically places right now. It's still, my middle name is Safety, so I'm like a little bit, uncomfortable, but we'll see.
It's a lot. It's a lot to figure out what the right answer is to any of this stuff. So
yeah, we just don't want anything to happen to either one of us. And obviously with running the company together, if anything, you know, we bring something home and it knocks us both out for a while, that could really impact us. So, careful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good thing we only have 3 locations left.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. That's a really crazy story about the locations. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was it was a little bit of a surprise.
Sorry.
It is genuinely really gonna be okay. Honestly, I mean, I feel like everybody's faced with challenges, and I know you guys I'm sure have your share of crazy moments, but they're all just moments of along that path, right? And I think we're really excited about the future, and we'll figure a way back. Well, we're like cockroaches. You can't kill us.
As an investor who called us this morning and to check on us and how we're doing said, the only way to make sure you fail is to stop.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Don't give up. Don't keep going. You're obviously going to keep churning stuff out, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. No, it's good. So we will get there.
And the landscape's different, though. I mean, I think that's the thing. You're constantly evolving. We talked about our landscape shifted in March, and we just kept on going and found additional, work. Basically, we're helping a lot of different groups now with doing their virtual events and creating these like Greater Colorado, for example. So that wasn't work at the beginning. They were like, we're gonna do a lot of online events and help a lot of people do them too. That was not even in question. Like there was no talk of that. So it's all, like you said, about adapting.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
If you guys are interested in us producing a TV show for you.
For sure. You guys are doing great. How many episodes have you done now?
Over 100.
That's what I thought. I thought I saw 100 and something, and I was like, wow, that's a lot.
I don't know if it's been quite that many, but we were
60?
doing it. We've been doing it since
twice a week
March.
Since March.
And we're doing it every Tuesday, Thursday. We've shifted to once a week is a little more sustainable, but
it's been fun.
It's been good. It for us, the biggest thing was, and we've got members who are watching and been commenting, and we're grateful for that. It's been a way to connect with our members and as well as a broader audience. But we were like, okay, we're not going to be able to be together in person. How do we stay connected? How do we stay helpful? Right? How do we provide resources? How do we do everything that we want to do anyway.
Yeah, the first ones were funny. They were all about, we were like Small Business Resource Center, PPP loans. The first couple were like so serious. And then we were like, maybe people actually need a show.
Yeah,
so Regis and Kathy, this is us.
I love it. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
And I like how the comments are flying through here. I didn't realize, I just saw that on the screen. That's really cool.
I know these are good. The I think we can't. I said it.
No, there's no second line for Launchpad.
We can't quit NOLA. Nola's not quitting us.
We'll be back.
We'll be back for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's been fun.
How's everything going on the investment stuff? I mean, you guys are doing some things around that, and I wanted to hear more about what you're up to.
Yeah, we have been, slowed a little bit making the investments. Well, put it this way: we've been getting updates from our existing portfolio, including some investments that we've been made over the last couple of years in Africa, and these companies are on a tear. So it's amazing. Like a bunch of up rounds, the companies are doing well. So we're really pleased about that.
I'll tell you,
fund work this one's working on it right now. So how's it going?
It's a tough time right now to be doing that.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about what we're thinking, because we can dig in with you in the future as well. But we had Mark Morial on the call, who was former HUD, right? No, he was former mayor of New Orleans.
Yeah.
And we were talking about inclusive financing. And one of the challenges that we've been identifying throughout our network and also broadly is that you basically have different choices, which is you have venture capital, which we understand all the elements of venture capital, and it's great, and that should exist. And then you have some fairly restrictive loan type products out there. And so you have debt financing that are challenging to get and require a lot of either credit worthiness or like the fairly aggressive terms, let's just call it.
Yeah.
And so I think the reality is that the existing financial products don't really exist to, and we think about it through the opportunity zone lens, don't really exist to spawn the creation of lots of startups and lots of small businesses, because a lot of those businesses would never actually fit into our venture capital mentality, right? So they're not high growth startups. We call them kind of like llama businesses. They're great.
I love llamas.
Yeah, right. They do a lot of work. They don't have to. The Zebra is like this big company that's steady. Now, these are like lifestyle businesses that create wealth in our communities. And the problem is that a lot of people have privilege can create themselves a nice lifestyle business, but people without privilege don't have those existing things. And so one of the things I'm thinking about for the Llama Fund is the idea that we're going to partner with organizations, so large foundations that have great balance sheet for first loss guarantees, and then CDFIs who have lots of capital that's coming in, have a need for that to have some corporate responsibility around it, but have absolutely no ability to understand how to spread that capital around into these organizations. And then partner with, say, a company or an organization like, I don't know, Startup of the Year, that might be able to think about how we think about the evolution of spreading that around. And so what I'm thinking about doing is for our fund focusing on that, because I think there's enough venture capital out there. And I think there's this real big gap in the marketplace for inclusive financing that is pre-seed stage. And so we would love to collaborate on that in the future, but that's basically where our heads are at and what we've been working on. And it seems to me we're getting a lot of interest from the markets. We're getting a lot of interest from other entrepreneurs. We're getting a lot of interest from the funds. And so I think that could be a pretty interesting strategy.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's like we'd be the farm team for Startup of the Year.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And one other area that we kind of explored, and Greater Colorado is doing this as well, is the revenue-based stuff, right? So revenue-based investing, where you're giving a little bit better setup for companies that may not be, the next zebras or whatever, or unicorns or whatever animal you want to use to glorify them.
I feel like revenue-based financing is also something interesting there. I
I
think
mean, you wouldn't do it for all of them because maybe it doesn't make sense. You got to be the right setup to be able to do that for these companies because they may not have revenue, right? These are some of these really early companies may not be set up for it.
Right. So I'm kind of excited about that. It's been hard to catch a breath the last couple of weeks just navigating. I mean, I'm also really glad that we didn't have drink too much wine this week because it feels like we would go home at the end of the day and be like, oh, let's just open the second bottle and get ourselves fired up about how we're going to deal with this tomorrow. And now we're kind of embracing a healthy attitude and a more forward-looking approach. So
it's a marathon.
We're on that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. There's no pressure. It's funny, we all have our own pressure, to do this and that. But at the end of the day, it's there's no one holding you to do it yet. So I think it's just a matter of figuring out the right time. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I think,
Yeah, good. Well, thank you. Thanks for asking about what we're up to. And tell Jen, we're sorry we didn't get to catch up, but we'll have you guys on next season of Lifestyle Business in the fall.
That sounds great.
We can talk about start of the year, and maybe even showcase some of the companies that you've got.
That'd be awesome. That would be fantastic. And so also mark your calendars now, November 9th and 10th.
November 9th and 10th, startup of the year.
We'll see you right here.
Right here, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. We're going to let you go, Frank.
All right, thanks so much. Thanks, everyone.
Wrap up. Good to be with you. All right. That was awesome. Good to catch up with Frank
I know.
again.
It's good to see our friends.
Also, just for all the viewers and people commenting, this was actually a pretty fun format to have real-time interaction with the audience. Obviously, people are watching in a new place on wherever you're watching, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. So has been fun to have that engagement.
Of course, send feedback.
Yeah, send feedback.
Ariel at lp.co.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Any final thoughts, either from Frank or anything we want to share from the standpoint of the New Orleans and Memphis locations or anything like that?
No, I guess we are, put me on the spot there. Do you have some feedback? I guess we'll say this, which is, we'll be back.
We will be back. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say goodbye, and I think the answer is it's not goodbye. It is. We will miss you. Seeing everyone in person for the time being. We will still see you virtually and hopefully be showing up in your inboxes and having you join us here. So thanks to everyone who joined today. And who knows? We'll see. Maybe we will be back when the time is right. But anyway, thanks for everybody for joining us today. We've got another show coming up Tuesday, right?
I think we're coming back Tuesday. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ariel, but we are talking to Grady from New Orleans, the GNO, Greater New Orleans, Inc.
Yeah. About
some initiatives they have to put New Orleans on the map.
Oh, maybe that will start with a new Launchpad location.
Yeah, if he wants, I'd say he needs a new Launchpad location.
Yeah. All right. So long, folks. Thanks for joining, and we will see you next week.